Hey everyone, my name is Jennifer. This is Metatronus speaking. I'm going to be talking to you today about a vision that I had from the Pleiades. This is from the planet Alcyone, and this vision is it's kind of silly. It's kind of cute. Just thought it would be fun to share. So, what I've seen of this particular Pleiadian planet so far is that the beings appear very much to look Japanese, and not just look Japanese, but um, their like decor and the stuff that they're using also very much seems Japanese. So I'm shown like very briefly like a city street. It's like a almost like a cobblestone road. I see cherry blossom trees. I see maple trees. There were women who were wearing kimonos that were very light material, very flowing material, really beautiful pastel colors. I saw somebody holding a parasol, which is like a kind of like an umbrella to block the sun. Um, I see an Asian, I'll just read it to you. I see an Asian looking man in a traditional Japanese style blue robe, but he had black pants. He has like a goatee, and his hair is a little bit long. It's long enough that it can be pulled back and tied back. And I hear myself address him as teacher. And he bows his head slightly in acknowledgement. So in this lifetime, I'm a man and I'm much younger than my teacher. I'm probably, what am I, like in my 20s? Am I younger than that? No way. I can't be younger than my. He's like, yes, you can. What am I, 18, 19? Yeah. I'm like, okay, so I'm almost 20 in this. Um, how old are, how old is the teacher? 50s, six, he says 60s. He looks younger than that. Um, he is teaching me magic. He is my mentor. His soul is Yeshua's soul, which is Metatron's soul. Like, no doubt. As soon as I called him teacher, I like almost wanted to cry because I was like, he's bringing me energy right now. Yeshua's here. I'm like, I know who I call teacher. I call you teacher. Um, I have to be able to see enough to read Yeshua. So we can't like totally cry. It's got like all that love energy. Okay. So his soul is Yeshua's. Um, he wants me, so in this lifetime, he wants me to hear my spirit guides better, but my mind, he tells me, but your mind is too busy. So he teaches me to be still, to meditate. It is difficult for me. And so I see myself like trying to do this because he's already taught me like this, this is how you do it. And so I keep showing up at his house, I guess is what it is. Keep showing up at his house to like do it. So there's this one room that I'm in, and the room is like pretty much empty. There's not a lot going on in this room. It must be like a meditation room. Um, and so there's like a mat on the floor. I'm sitting cross-legged there. I'm alone. There's like a couple candles that are lit on a table behind me. And so I'm supposed to be meditating, right? And I'm sitting there, and the first thing I think about is this like woman that I'm in love with. And so I'm like, then I get mad at myself because I'm like I'm not supposed to be thinking of anything. Like, do not think about her. um, so I'm like trying to focus on that, and I'm trying to be quiet. My eyes are closed, and I can hear like this little tiny noise. Like it's supposed to be silent, but there's this noise coming from outside my room. It's like I want to say down the hallway, but that's not right because the room I'm in, the only way out is like this doorway. There's no door. it's just an opening and it leads out to the outside of the house. But if you were to go out the doorway and like turn to the right or turn to the left, there's this walkway, and as you walk, there are other rooms that you could go into. And so, anyways, so I can hear this little noise that's like far away and kind of coming closer. Like, what is that? And so I'm like trying to focus, trying to focus. It's the sound of tiny little nails running across the wood floors and squeaks from playful animals. And so the noises are far away, they eventually get louder. And I open my eyes because it's getting much louder. And as I open my eyes, I see these creatures run into my room. And so there are three. There are three fox cubs, but not just any fox cubs. These are nine-tail foxes. Three of them. Okay. So that's why this is kind of why I wanted to share this with you guys because I believe I don't even know anything about this. I believe they're called kitsunes. I believe this is like a Japanese culture thing. I actually know zero about this in real life. How amazing to see them in this lifetime. And also, I'm going to talk about this later, but I had an experience with Yeshua and nine-tailed foxes prior to this. It wasn't a past lifetime, but I want to talk about that afterwards. Anyways, so these three foxes with all these tails like run into my room. The orange one has a piece of food in its mouth that it stole from somewhere. So it looks like a chicken leg. It looks like a drumstick, like just the leg of a chicken that had been cooked. Um, and the other two, there's a black one. There's an orange one that's a boy. There's a black one that's a boy, and there's like one that's like kind of pinkish colored. That's a female. And the orange one has the food, and so the orange one's running, and the other two are trying to steal the food from the orange one, and so they're like all over him, and so it's like chaos. And so they're all rowdy and running around, and they're all trying to get the food. And so I'm just like, where did these guys come from? Because my teacher doesn't own any of these. So I'm like, what are these doing here? Um, these are a common pet on Alkione, the way dogs and cats are on Earth. Nine-tailed foxes have a temperament between a cat and a dog, which is kind of funny. So my teacher enters the room and he's like always Mr. Prepared. He enters the room and he's got like two more chicken legs, two more pieces of food. This whatever the food was that the orange fox had, he's got two more. And so he gives one to the black one and one to the pink one. So they're all like relaxing and they can finally like eat their food as fast as they can. And so these animals act like they're wild though, like they're eating like they've never eaten before in their lives. And so I was like, "Are they yours, teacher?" And he smiles and he says, "A woman found them. They were orphaned. I offered to find them a home." And so the pink one has finished eating her little piece of food. And so she's like, "Come over to me." And she's sniffing me. She's like sniffing my feet, sniffing my legs. She's like, "Hey, do you have a piece of chicken? Because I'm still hungry." Um, and so I go to pet her and she like flattens her ears and she hisses at me. Like it's not like a terrifying one. It's more like a like don't touch me. I'm searching for my food still kind of thing. And so I was like, they don't seem like they're used to people yet. And then the black one finished eating his food and he goes to like my back and he's like rubbing his face all on my back. He's like trying to put his scent on me, like kind of like the way a cat does to like mark ownership. He's like, "Yep, I want this one." And so he's rubbing on my back. And then he ends up climbing into my lap, Like he acts like he's known me his whole life. He just goes into my lap, he lays down, and then when the orange one or pink one come over, he's like nipping at them or like opening his mouth at them, like, get away. I own this one. And so I was saying, okay, this one is possessive, but I am charmed by his complete trust in me. He lets me pet him. He's completely relaxed. So he's just like immediately likes me. So I'm like charmed by that. I was like, oh, this is an amazing pet. um, do you want to come with me to feed them? My teacher asks me. And so I pick up the black one and I'm thinking, oh, this he's gonna just wiggle away from me the second I pick him up, but he just lets me carry him. I'm like, what the heck? And so I just love him. Um, and I say, yes, maybe they will all be calmer after they eat. Are you keeping any of them? And my teacher says, they will choose their own master. So after they eat, they're calm, and the orange one is like, they're totally like cats now that I think about it. The orange one came over to me and he was like rubbing his mouth against my hand, but he was like, he had his mouth open, so he was rubbing his little baby teeth against my hand. I've had cats do that to me before. It's like he's transferring his scent to me. And so he's doing that, and I'm like telling my teacher, I'm like, hey, I didn't get to meditate much today before they interrupted. And when I'm telling him this, I'm like a little bit worried because I'm like, oh, I don't want him to be disappointed in me. The black fox has curled up on my lap again. The pink one is like circling me, trying to find a place to lay down because I think she wanted my lap, but the black one took the lap. Um, the orange one comes over and tries to lay on top of the black one, and then they get in a fight. They like open their mouths at each other and they're like, they're making these like little noises. um, and then so the orange one decides, okay, fine, you can have the lap, and the orange one lays next to me. And so my teacher says, perhaps the universe has a different plan for us today. What are you going to name them? And my teacher says this to me with a smile. And I'm like, me? I was like gonna object to him. I'm like, these aren't mine. My objection trails off as I remember what he said about how they would choose their master. I look down at the pink one. She has laid down next to me and has her eyes closed. I pet her in between her eyes and then she doesn't move. Remember the first time I pet her, she like hissed at me, or I tried to pet her. And I look up at my teacher and he's like waiting for my answer and he's like kind of smiling with his eyes. And it's like hilarious because I have like these three foxes laying on me all of a sudden. And so I ask him, will you name one of them for me? And so I name the black one, Matrix, and I name the pink one, Fenley. My teacher says he wants to name the third one, Chicken Leg, after the food that he stole to eat. And so he's joking. I laughed when he said that. My teacher has always had a good sense of humor. So that's the end of what I channeled. But it's really messed with my mind a lot because this is an actual past lifetime that I've had on this planet with Yeshua's soul. When I first started channeling, um, probably the second time I interacted with Yeshua, the first time he threw me off because I was like, oh my God, I want to talk to Jesus. And I was like freaking out because Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Like I don't know, I was fangirling. And so I was freaking out. So I was like, can I speak to Jesus? And then Jesus came through and he was like, Jesus here, like really casual. Jesus here. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to say. But the second time I interacted with him, I think it was the second time. Um, I forget what we were doing, but energetically, I was in it's hard to explain. When I energetically interact with other guides, I actually don't know where I am. I guess it could just be right here in whatever room I'm in. I never really thought about it, but it's just I'm projecting out an energetic version of me to interact with their energetic version, since that's what they are. Um, and so he had we I told him like let's create something because it's almost like it's like a dream world. It's like the dreamland. It's like um, everything you can manifest instantly, anything you think or want, there it is, right? And so I was like, oh, let's create something together. And so he had created three different nine-tailed foxes. And at the time, I was like, oh, this is cool because to me, it was like a cartoon or something. Like I've seen them referenced very briefly in American culture as like, as part of like a video game or yeah, actually always in context of a video game that was probably created in Japan. Um so I was like, "Oh, that's funny. They don't have one tail, they have nine. That's cool." And then when we did that, um I had I had named two of them and I had asked him, "What should I name the third one?" And during this experience with him, I had named one Matrix and I had named one Fenley, and he had been joking with me and he's like, "Oh, let's name the third one John." And I was like, "John? We can't name it John. That's a no offense to anyone named John." I was like, "That's not a good name for a fox." Um, and then I thought, "Oh my God, Jesus loved that disciple named John. Maybe he wanted to name it John after that disciple he loved." And then I felt horrible. And then I was like, okay, yeah, 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 we can name it John. That's great. Let's do it. And then he responded back and he said, Long John. And I was like, oh my gosh, because Long John is a reference to like underwear. And so I was just laughing because it was ridiculous and it was completely unexpected. And that is 100% in line with Yeshua. Yeshua will just like, you think he's all serious. And then as soon as you are really deep into the conversation with him, he'll throw out something like this where you're just like, I didn't even see that coming and it's silly. It's just silly. Um, so he was silly and he named that third one Long John in my experience with him. And then in the lifetime, he's like telling me to name the fox Chicken Leg. And again, it was hilarious because it was applicable to the situation. Um, he's still here. He's still giving me energy. Don't get too close, Yeshua. He says yes. um, like it really messed with me because that was a past life I had, and then I literally replayed it with him. So this is saying something about our souls, right? Because you literally put me in a situation with the same soul, and he put these three foxes in front of me, these nine-tailed foxes, and it literally triggered me the exact same way again, where I was like, well, let's name the foxes. Let's name them. And then it's so what this is telling me is that our souls are almost like conditioned to repeat anything and everything. So whether you had an experience that you loved, like that was a beautiful memory for me, that lifetime, that experience. And so Yeshua, step a little bit further. he's getting, he's making me want to cry again. So being with that same soul again in that same scenario, I immediately wanted to relive that thing. I immediately wanted to relive that moment that I loved with him. He's doing this on purpose. He gives off the love energy, and it immediately like locates a hurt or a pain somewhere in your energy to release it. It immediately heals something. And so that's why I'm getting this reaction. That's why when people, um, if they ever feel or experience Metatron or any of his incarnations, like like Yeshua, you if you feel their energy, you just want to bawl. And it's not like the cute bawling, it's like the ugly cry where something horrible is being healed because that's what their love does. It heals. That's what all love does. Um Anyways, I'm trying to tell a story, but he's like getting me all involved over here and I can't see straight because all the tears. Okay. Um so you think about, okay, you want to repeat these positive situations. Well, you also, as a soul, says it's karma. That's what he's telling me. Karma. Karma makes you repeat it. He's showing me a cycle. He's saying karma is like unconsciousness. You're in a wheel and you can't get out of the wheel. So whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, you're stuck in that wheel. And so he's showing me how this looks like. So let's say you have a soul that you have like a traumatic experience with, like, okay, they're like a controlling partner and they kill you. All right. Another lifetime, you meet up with this person again and you're still trying to learn the same lesson from them. And you have this tendency to want to exactly duplicate whatever has already happened between you two. And it's wild because, like, if you look at the example that I'm showing you guys, it's not like, oh, it was just sort of kind of the same. It was like I had the same names. Like, that's freaky. Like, that blows my mind. The level of detail that exactly mimics right over. I remember him asking me when we had created those foxes. He's like, "What colors do you want them?" I remember him asking me because he knows karmically, unconsciously, I'm gonna give him exactly what's already happened. You wanna talk you wanna sit over here, Yeshua, and have a talk with us? Like, I feel like you wanna talk about this. Okay, let me see if I can I feel like he wants to talk about karma. This might be hard for me to do in the moment, but let's see what we can do. It's important for us to consciously, he's talking about, for us to have awareness of every moment, for us to consciously decide what we want to avoid. Sorry, guys, I'm like fixing my makeup. To consciously, okay, so he wants us to have the awareness moment to moment. It's like all the time. He's showing me like second to second to second. You need to consciously be in the moment and make choices in order to not get pulled into, he's showing you almost like it's a tide, like an ocean tide, or like it's like a force. There's an energetic force that makes you want to karmically repeat things. And so he's showing me, okay, so as you make different choices, as you make new choices, you pull yourself a little bit out of that current. And it breaks it. The karma that you have needs your participation. It needs your participation to remain. So, if you have, let's talk about negative karma, bad karma. You keep repeating something that is harmful for you. It requires your participation, and you're only participating because you're being unconscious, because you're being unaware, because you're going with the flow of this karmic current. If you make a new choice and pull yourself out of that cycle, because your pathway is now going to go this way, because you're not choosing to go in this circle, choosing to do something else, this disappears. The karma disappears. It balances. It ends. It goes away. You break it. You break the cycle. This is why it's so important to be conscious. Now, obviously, it's not a horrific thing if you're reliving a positive memory, but he's showing me it's still unconscious. He says, if you want the same thing again, consciously choose it again. Consciously choose it and add to it because you're not the same soul as you were the first time or the 10th time or whatever other times you've done it. You're not the same. You're constantly changing. Your energy is constantly rearranging based on what you're feeding it and what you're thinking and the choices you're making. So you're not the same energy. So why do you keep choosing the same thing like you are? You're not. And he's showing me our energy changing, and it's not like it's in a straight line, because it's not like, oh, we're improving. Sometimes you are. Some parts of you are improving and then other parts of you aren't. It's this really dynamic energy he's showing me. So why not take a moment and breathe and think about what you would like right now, because it's different than what you wanted 5 years ago in this same body, 10 years ago in this same body, because your energy is always changing. And you need to honor what you are, who you are right now, and then choose. Be mindful of who you are and then make your choice. It's interesting. I always thought to balance karma, you needed to interact with another person. And he says, no, nope, that's their karma. Holy cow. He's saying, he's showing me like all of our karma is like a wheel that we're stuck on. Each karmic problem is our own little wheel that we're stuck in. And so like think of that example where I was like, okay, this is like the abusive partner and they killed you and you guys keep coming together and there keeps being this like unhealthy dynamic between you two. So let's say you want to get off the wheel and so you're like, you know what? This relationship is not healthy for me. I don't want this anymore. I'm choosing to not be in this. And so you exit out. So you get off of your wheel. Well, guess what? He's still on his. He's still going to look for another partner to play out that same karmic loop. This is crazy. Okay, Yeshua, talk to me because I know sometimes we owe people stuff. How does that look? He's showing me when these, okay, so let's say I owe you something. So when our energies meet, like, does it count if it's like this? No. Okay, so let's say you meet in person. You and someone else who, like, quote, owes you, right? There's like unbalanced karma there. He's showing it to me like it's a seesaw, it's a teeter totter, like, one of those children's toys on the playground. But that literally, when you come near each other, that there's this unsettled energy that wants to balance. Holy moly, it wants to balance. It's trying to balance. It's it's like this force that is going to do everything it can to influence the person who needs to give. Holy moly. I never knew karma was trying to balance. It always felt like, oh man, you better be like, I mean, I guess you could be consciously aware and that makes it much easier and makes it much quicker to get to there. But it's like the karma wants to be balanced. He's showing it to me, and I know this is like super sciencey, but if you took a science course and they talk about there needs to be like a certain number of like electrons on the outer shell of an atom, and if you don't have, hard to explain, but with atoms, if they don't have like the certain number of electrons or other atoms in a molecule that they want to have to be balanced, it makes them really reactive. It makes them really try hard to find that thing they need to balance. And so it's almost like that. Karma wants to balance. Okay. So if you're in a repeating pattern in your life, make a new conscious choice. Make a choice you haven't made before. Get off the wheel to break the karmic pattern. Um, and for balancing, he's saying, listen to your intuition, listen to how you feel, because you're naturally going to want to give to that person. And so, on the flip side of this, if someone wants to give something to you, be receptive to it. Don't be like, oh, no, 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 no. It's too much. It's too generous. Let them, because there's a long history there that you probably don't remember. And you need to allow others to balance what needs to be balanced because they have awareness of that too. All right, this video got way more interesting than I was planning on it being. Um, okay, you good? All right, yeah, she was good. Um, I was just gonna talk to you about past lives on the Pleiades. I wasn't gonna channel Yeshua, but it's got way more interesting. Okay, I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.